we've got the Appalachian, all the, you know, we got all those mountains, right? Okay. Any of y'all ever been up to our mountains? No. They are anthills compared to the Rockies. All right. Anybody been to the Rockies? Vail, all that sort of stuff. Okay. So you go, what happens to your breathing? Because here, you know, it's kind of just, what else? All right. Go up there, and I'm like, all right. I get to Colorado, and I'm like, okay, I know I gotta acclimate. So you kind of need to give yourself about 3 days to acclimate. Well, I didn't. All right. So I get there, I have 1 day in Denver. Then I begin my trek up to Vail. All right. Woo-wee! Okay, get up to about, what was it, 10,000, 12,000 feet elevation, and I'm getting sick. All right, so if anybody's ever known, okay, you go, and because the air is so different, all right, and we're working really hard, and because of the structure of that air, we're not getting that oxygen that needs to get to the tissues, okay, and I'm just like, oh, whoa, no, can't handle this, all right, and definitely different, okay, for the structure. So that would be an external source that was affecting, well, does my breathing need to be faster, slower, shallower, deeper, okay? And then that would, you know, be working with my VRG group, all right? Come back to Virginia. Well, I mean, you know, the first thing that happened was when I saw the Rockies, I was like, oh, no, we don't have mountains. No. Okay. So it's a definite difference as an external source. It even changes if we go from here to the ocean. Like if we go from here to Virginia Beach or the Outer Banks or something. Okay. Your breathing actually changes. All right. That's why you get calmer. Okay. Because it's nicer and deeper and everything else. Y'all ever thought about that? Think about that next time you go to the beach. Just saying. Now, my pontine group, dealing with my ponds. What's going to be my rhythm? Is my rhythm going to be quiet or forced? That's one of the things that it can do. Okay? Other ways that our breathing is going to be controlled. All right, so if we've got that area in my brain stem, do you guys remember chemoreceptors? Okay. Chemo. What do you think about? Chemicals. All right. Wait a minute. What kind of chemicals?
They measure the pH.
We're going to be dealing a whole lot with pH. So, I'm going to have my central chemoreceptors. They're in my medulla. I have peripheral chemoreceptors. Do you guys remember the little things that were found in carotid arteries? And then my aorta. They're coming directly off of the heart. Oxygen levels. Okay. Now, got something else coming into play. In my lung tissue that is very sponge-like, I now have stretch receptors because that is what my lung tissue gets to do. It has a lot of elasticity to it, and it gets to expand and recoil. But once again, I can't have it expanding past a point that the tissue will support. So I have stretch receptors. It's in the smooth muscle. What controls the smooth muscle?
The ANS.
The autonomic nervous system. So my ANS, you guys remember how we had that sympathetic, parasympathetic, all that sort of stuff? Okay, so my smooth muscle of my bronchi, bronchioles, and then visceral pleura, they're going to have stretch receptors. The reflex that gets formed from this is called Herring-Brewer reflex. Basically saying we can't have any stretch past the point that the tissue can support. So it will pick up on the amount of stretch taking place. And if it becomes too much, guess what? We exhale. So it helps control the stretch that's going to occur. And then I've got irritant receptors. Because air around us full of irritants. Anybody see the picture of the pollen cloud over North Carolina? Was that last week, I think? Did anybody see the picture of the pollen cloud? Oh, man. Woo! And then yesterday, all of the wind. Anybody go outside like I did and try to do stuff in the yard? All right. Within an hour, my head was hurting so bad because I'm pretty sure there was a lot of stuff that went up. Okay. I know there was stuff that tried to go down because you go, throat gets all dry. Okay. Those are irritants. We're sitting in here right now surrounded by irritants. All right. Their goal, don't get to my lung tissue. Do not get to my alveoli sac. All right, that's my goal. The laws that I mentioned earlier, because yes, I keep saying that we're going to have pressures. We're going to have different pressures. And one of the other parts that we're going to have in breathing, we have resistance that can be created. All right, age, physical condition. There are different things that can affect our actual ability to inhale and exhale. And of course, what is the amount of air that I get to move? Healthy, normal conditions have volumes that should fall in a value. But think about someone who may have COPD, chronic bronchitis, emphysema, asthma. Okay? Their numbers are going to be different. Their movement of air is going to be different. Okay? So the gas laws, Boyle's Law, Charles' Law, Dalton's Law. All right. Like I said, your textbook's going to get into great detail. We'll kind of just look at them briefly. There are numbers. Yes, math is involved. But guess what? I'm not a respiratory therapist. Okay? I often wondered sometimes if I should go into that. All right, but like I said, I don't do well with sick people. I know, right? Here I am. So, they would be able to look at all those little readings on machines or spirometer or whatever the case might be, and they've probably done it so much they do it in their head, you know, and plug it in and use those values. All right, so that's what the respiratory people would be doing. Does that make sense? So even though in your textbook it shows a lot of math for this, it's their readings of that air that's moving in and moving out as the people breathe in and breathe out. So Boyle's law is dealing or telling us my pressures are inversely proportional to volume. So that would mean the amount of the air and pressures that it would create. Charles's law, the volume of the gas is proportional to temperature. Now we'll tell you this. One thing that our body has to do when we breathe, it has to make sure that the air that goes in has to come up to body temperature before it gets to the lung tissue. Think about that for a second. The air out here has to reach roughly 98.6 before it gets here. Interesting. Kind of cool. Think about people in below -50, below 0, whatever the case might be. Just say. Henry's law. Good old Henry. His law is the reason that the gases, I should say, are going to be able to move from the blood vessel, i.e. the capillaries, into the alveoli and vice versa. Because Henry's law says when I have an air-water interface, my alveoli, my blood vessel, their connection in between is water in that basement, and that respiratory membrane, there is fluid. So therefore, I have an air-water interface. And my gases need to be able to cross this structure known as my respiratory membrane. So he tells us the gases, oxygen and CO2, can dissolve in water. And if they can dissolve in water, they can move. Did everybody just understand what I said? In my blood vessel, yeah, there'll be oxygen. I'll have CO2. In my alveoli, CO2 and oxygen. For those gases to move, when I get to the respiratory membrane.